Is it safe to use cannabis during pregnancy? A burning question that has been on the minds of many. Today, we're diving into a comprehensive study that reveals some crucial insights. This recent study, carried out by the University of Utah Health, involved over 9,000 pregnant individuals. It sought to shed light on the potential risks associated with cannabis exposure during pregnancy. The findings: an unsettling link between cannabis usage and an increased likelihood of unhealthy pregnancy outcomes. Over the past decade, the use of medical marijuana has more than doubled in the United States, making this research more relevant than ever. Yet the full effects of cannabis, especially on vulnerable groups like pregnant individuals, still remain somewhat of a mystery. This study contributes to filling that knowledge gap, providing a more nuanced understanding of the potential risks. So, let's delve deeper into how this study was conducted and what its findings mean for pregnant individuals. The methodology of this study sets it apart from previous ones. Let's understand why. This study, conducted by the University of Utah Health, was extensive, involving over 9,000 pregnant individuals from 8 medical centers across the United States. This broad participant base allowed the researchers to cover a wide demographic and geographic range, thereby enhancing the reliability and applicability of their findings. The primary objective of this study was to distinguish the effects of cannabis itself from those influenced by correlated health conditions. This is a critical distinction, as it provides a clearer understanding of the risks directly associated with cannabis use during pregnancy. Now, what makes this study truly unique is its method of measuring cannabis exposure. Unlike previous studies that relied on self-reported cannabis use, a method that tends to underestimate actual usage rates, this research took a more accurate approach. It measured the levels of a metabolic byproduct of cannabis in participants' urine samples. This method gave the researchers a more precise insight into the actual levels of cannabis exposure, which is critical in assessing its health effects. This study also broadened the scope of negative health outcomes considered. It included low birth weight, pregnancy-related high blood pressure, stillbirth, and medically indicated preterm birth. All these conditions were linked to reduced placental function, an essential factor in supplying the developing fetus with oxygen and nutrients. One of the significant findings of this study was the association between cannabis use and low birth weight, which was the most prominent among the adverse outcomes. Previous research in non-human primates suggested that prolonged cannabis exposure might interfere with blood supply to the placenta, which could explain this association. In conclusion, while the study could not identify the exact reasons behind the link between cannabis use and negative pregnancy outcomes, it did highlight a concerning trend. Higher levels of cannabis exposure were associated with an increased risk of adverse pregnancy outcomes. The accuracy of this study is a game changer, but what did it find? The findings of this study shed light on the risks of cannabis use during pregnancy. The researchers delved into a pool of over 9,000 pregnant individuals, a sample size that surpasses most previous studies. The results? They found that cannabis exposure was linked to a 1.5 times increase in the risk of unhealthy pregnancy outcomes. To put it in perspective, 26% of cannabis-exposed pregnant individuals experienced adverse outcomes, compared to 17% of those non-exposed. That's almost a 10% difference, which is quite significant in the world of scientific research. Now, let's talk specifics. The study paid particular attention to the association between cannabis use and low birth weight. This was the most substantial finding. Low birth weight is a cause for concern because it can lead to various health complications for the newborn, including difficulties in breathing and feeding, as well as a heightened risk of infection. But the question is, why does cannabis exposure lead to such outcomes? The researchers believe it all boils down to the placenta. The placenta is like the lifeline of the developing fetus, supplying it with oxygen and nutrients. All the adverse conditions identified by the study, such as low birth weight and pregnancy-related high blood pressure, were linked to reduced placental function. While the exact reasons behind this association remain unclear, prior research suggests that prolonged cannabis exposure might interfere with the blood supply to the placenta. This is particularly worrying considering the higher THC content found in newer cannabis products, which could potentially lead to higher levels of exposure. The authors of the study emphasized the need for pregnant individuals to have an open conversation with their healthcare providers about cannabis use. While cannabis might be used to alleviate symptoms like nausea or anxiety, the study's findings underscore the existence of alternative therapies that have been proven safe. These findings are significant, but what are the implications? The implications of this study are far-reaching, especially for pregnant individuals considering cannabis use. The evidence points to an association between cannabis and negative pregnancy outcomes, although the exact reasons behind this remain elusive. Earlier research with non-human primates suggests that prolonged cannabis exposure might disrupt the blood supply to the placenta. This is a critical consideration since the placenta is responsible for nourishing the developing fetus with oxygen and nutrients. The researchers of this study have highlighted the importance of open conversations between pregnant individuals and their healthcare providers. They believe that such dialogues can help individuals make informed decisions about cannabis use during pregnancy, weighing the potential risks against the expected benefits. After all, some might consider cannabis for managing pregnancy-related discomforts such as nausea or anxiety. However, the researchers are quick to point out that there are alternative therapies available. These alternatives have been tested and proven safe, presenting viable options for those seeking relief from pregnancy-related discomforts. In comparison, the safety of cannabis use during pregnancy remains largely unknown, with emerging evidence suggesting potential risks. The study's authors also express concern about the higher risk observed with increased levels of cannabis exposure. This concern is amplified by the fact that newer cannabis products on the market contain higher levels of THC, the psychoactive component of cannabis. The potential for greater harm, therefore, cannot be ruled out. This study underscores the urgent need for more research on the health impacts of cannabis. As the use of medical marijuana continues to rise across the country, it becomes increasingly important to understand its full spectrum of effects. This is especially true for vulnerable populations like pregnant individuals who must consider not only their own health, but also that of their developing fetus. In conclusion, while the use of cannabis during pregnancy might seem like a promising solution to manage certain discomforts, the associated risks cannot be overlooked. The evidence so far suggests that cannabis use during pregnancy might not be safe and could lead to adverse pregnancy outcomes. Therefore, the dialogue must continue. The research must persist and the awareness must grow, all in the pursuit of ensuring the best health outcomes for both mother and child. In conclusion, the study asserts that cannabis use during pregnancy is not safe. This isn't a casual claim, it's based on meticulous research involving over 9,000 pregnant individuals. The study, conducted by the University of Utah Health and published in JAMA, serves as a stark reminder of the potential risks involved with cannabis use during pregnancy. While cannabis might offer some benefits to certain individuals, it's crucial to remember that these benefits do not necessarily extend to everyone. Pregnant individuals in particular are at a heightened risk of experiencing adverse outcomes. The study revealed that cannabis exposure is linked to a 1.5 times increase in the risk of unhealthy pregnancy outcomes. This includes conditions like low birth weight, pregnancy-related high blood pressure, stillbirth, and medically indicated preterm birth. Remember, these outcomes are not just numbers on a page. They represent real-life challenges that can affect the health and well-being of both the pregnant individual and their child. It's essential to consider these risks before making decisions about cannabis use during pregnancy. Informed decisions are the cornerstone of health and well-being. This is particularly true when it comes to health decisions during pregnancy. Accurate information empowers individuals, allowing them to make choices that are best suited to their unique circumstances. So let's talk, let's ask questions, and let's make sure we have all the information we need. If you or someone you know is considering cannabis use during pregnancy, it's important to have an open conversation with a healthcare provider. They can provide additional insights and suggest safe alternatives for managing symptoms like nausea and anxiety. The findings of this study underscore the urgent need for continued research on the health impacts of cannabis. Only through rigorous scientific investigation can we gain a comprehensive understanding of the benefits and risks associated with cannabis use. Share this video with others who might benefit from this information. Remember, knowledge is power, and it's crucial we spread it. Until next time, take care and stay informed.